Here we go. So happy to have you all here today. If this is the first time that you are joining the Accelerator group, why don't you put a number 1 in the chat so we can see how many are our newbies. And welcome them. Neil Isaacs, welcome. Who else? Kathleen, welcome. Steph, Tracy, Cyril, it's not your first time. Jan, I know Dan, I see you. Beautiful. So just a little bit about the Accelerator job search group. We started this group in early 2020, right as COVID was hitting the fan. It was started by job seekers for job seekers. And our whole mission was to help accelerate the career path back to employment. I've been fortunate to be the assigned career coach since that time. And we've had so many amazing people come through our group. And I have been fortunate to be able to help people with resume reviews, with LinkedIn profile support, and interview prep, just to help people get onto the next career. If you are not yet a member of the Accelerator group, we are a private group on LinkedIn. Lori's going to put in the link so you can join us, absolutely. And also Lori's going to drop my URL into the chat. If we are not connected yet, I would love to connect with you and help you in any way I can, even after our call for sure. And I encourage you at this point to please put in your own LinkedIn URL. You never know who's going to be on this call, who might be able to help you with your next career step. So absolutely put in your URL so we can all see who you are and where you're coming from. When we first started these calls, they were not recorded. Right now, we are recording the calls because so many people have asked us to view calls if they could not be on the live call. And so we're going to be posting this on our YouTube channel. And I want to thank Kevin for encouraging me to do that. It took a while for me to get the courage up, but Kevin said, you can do this, it's not hard. And we do it. And Lori, of course, helps every month getting our recordings up. So thank you to Lori. And Sue's giving you pom-poms, Lori, so thank you so much for all the help that you do. Since you are here today, you are already taking a giant step forward in your careers, because we have right now about 30 people on this call. You 30 people are going to learn so much today from Kevin that everyone else, all of your competition, is not going to know. So give yourself a round of applause for being here on today's call, or pat yourself on the back, whatever makes you happy. This is a great next step for your next career. I like to talk about what our future calls are going to be like. Since so many people are on vacation next month, we are taking the month of July off, but we're coming back with a bang in August, when our former accelerator, who was a job seeker for quite some time, Jeffrey Ullman, will be participating, and he's going to be talking about sharing his experience of how to stay out of the black hole of recruiting. And you all know what that black hole is. If you're a job seeker, you know what the black hole is. You submit your resume, you hear nothing, right? That's the black hole. So Jeffrey has put together a wonderful presentation about his experience as a job seeker. And now, of course, he is working, and he's coming back to as an alum in August. So if Lori put the link in, you can sign up now. It's on the Accelerator page, and I'll start promoting that, in a little bit. One last piece of housekeeping. Anyone who's come to our Accelerator calls know that we like to share our information. We like to share knowledge. And so for those people who are not fortunate to be on the call today, I do a post, and I use your golden nuggets as part of my post, which will come out hopefully this week. And so anytime you hear Kevin say something that really inspires you, something that you want other people to know about, just put the word nugget in gold and capital letters in the chat, and then put whatever it is you learned or whatever you're taking away or how you're going to use it. And I'm going to utilize all that in my post for this week. Is that good? Excellent. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start talking about Kevin, who I cannot say enough about. I could talk an hour about Kevin. Did you know that there have been over 90 changes in LinkedIn features since the beginning of this year, just in 2023? It's incredible. And unfortunately, LinkedIn does not send out these notifications and let us know, hey, this is new, this is new. And so I have been relying on Kevin for a long time to make sure that I stay up to date on all LinkedIn changes. Kevin somehow keeps up to date. We're going to have to ask him how he does that, but he stays up to date on all these amazing changes, and he's got over 200 LinkedIn recommendations. So you know that he knows his stuff. Kevin and I both share a deep love of LinkedIn and a deep appreciation for the value and the power of LinkedIn. But we also both just recently moved. And although he's in Texas and I'm in North Carolina, we are sharing that angst and joy of a new location and trying to get accustomed to that. So I thank you, Kevin, for being here. I know how a tumult it is. I know how it is in my house. I'm sure it is in your house also. Just trying to figure out all the light switches is this right now. So when Kevin and I spoke this week a little bit about what we wanted to talk about today, he mentioned that he has a top 10 of the LinkedIn things that job seekers should know. And I think you will walk away amazed. I will also encourage you to ask questions. So if you have a question, just put it in caps in the chat so we can see it, and we'll answer as many as possible as time allows, for sure. I came across a saying the other day, and it said, the curious will inherit the future. So I believe that Kevin falls under that headline, and I hope you also are curious, and we'll know that when we see how many questions we get in there. So Lori, if you could highlight Kevin, that would be amazing. And I'm going to let you run with this, Kevin, because you know your stuff.
Mindy, again, thank you very much. I love being here with the Accelerators. It's a great group, and I like groups that share, right? That share knowledge, give each other insights, help each other. And, that's the best way to get anywhere, is to go with a group, right? It's the fastest way to get there as well. And so I'm excited to be here. And I look at LinkedIn differently. I'm probably one of the few people that you might meet that probably spends 13, 14 hours a day on LinkedIn. And hopefully I do that so you don't have to, right? So you only have to use it as much as you need it. And that's what I do. And, keeping up with all these changes on LinkedIn, it can take a lot of time. And I can't do it all myself. I have a group of individuals. I say they have eagle eyes and sharing hearts, right? And they come to me and they say, hey, I think I found something new. And we'll look at it, figure out what it is, document it, and share it. And, it's a big piece of it. So if you ever do discover anything, let me know. And I always share credit with anybody who brings them to me as well, because that's a big part of this is, we're here. I always say united, we all keep rocking LinkedIn. And that's the way it works. And that's how Mindy and I got together, and we do many other things. So it's the start point. There are things on LinkedIn, if you know about them, can give you a competitive advantage to those who don't. And, I look at LinkedIn in different ways. And probably the most important way is I look at LinkedIn as a business. It's not a social good site, right? I understand that it is a business, and I understand what drives LinkedIn as a business. It's a $17 billion business now. And almost 65% of that annual revenue comes from selling members to other members. So if you ever wonder why LinkedIn doesn't respond to us as members, it's because we're not the core customer, we're the product. And when you start realizing that we are the product, and then you start thinking about how can we be the best product on LinkedIn so that LinkedIn promotes us and sells us more to everybody else, that's one of the keys in LinkedIn. And probably the first feature that we're going to talk about in this today basically is called market value filters. And I wanted to jump right in there. And to do that, I've got to share my screen here. Let me make sure I share my browser. And I'm going to jump right in. I'm one of these believe that anything on my profile is open to everybody. It's already public. So we get in here If you have any questions, you can ask me as we go along. But market value filters are the way LinkedIn figures out this database, which is all of our profiles. And we're almost 1 billion people now. So if you ever felt like you're 1 in a million, now you're 1 in a billion. How do you become number 1 in a billion is how you interact with the database. And so that's what we're going to talk about, these market value filters. The easiest place to see them is we're going to go into an experience section. We're going to hit that edit pencil, right? And we're going to start with title. Learned this many years ago, was helping the head of HR for a internet-based company. It was Yahoo. They were in charge of HR. Their title was Cloud9 Navigator. That's the title that Yahoo gave to him. It's an internet company, right? It made sense. They had Cloud9 Navigator in the title. Nobody could find them. They wanted to move on, but no recruiters were calling them because recruiters do title searches. So by using the title the company gave them, nobody could find them. When we changed that title to Chief Human Resource Officer, which is what they were number 4 in the company, they were basically scalped within 2 weeks to their ultimate opportunity. And it was just changing that title. So you can go in and you can make whatever you want as a title, and LinkedIn will accept it. That was Cloud9 Navigator. But if you start typing in your title, what you want to do is pick from one of these market value filters. If you do, then LinkedIn knows how to sort you, right? And knows how to present you as a product. Think of it like running a grocery store. You run the grocery store, I send you a product and it doesn't fit in any category. What do you do with it? You put it not on the end cap, not at eye level, not up by the register. You put it on the shelf back by the bathroom, right? Where the dusty dented cans are, because you don't know how to categorize it. So when we don't use these, we're putting ourselves in that category that goes back on the shelf by the bathroom. That's not what we want our careers to be, right? So you want to embrace these. So this is the first one. Select one that matches as close as you can to what every other company would call you, right? If you think your company might get upset because you've changed your title, and people have global director of customer relationships and strategic partnerships and blah, 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 blah. And probably the better definition would be director of business development or something to that effect, or director of customer experience. Select that one. And then in your description, clarify it, right? Internally known as the Cloud9 Navigator. Nobody's going to dispute you're not telling the truth. You're getting it out there. And then if a recruiter calls to verify, they're going to say, is Kevin the Cloud9 Navigator? Is he the managing partner of? And they'll get it right. So don't worry about that in that sense. Use it and then define it if you need to. So another market value title, believe it or not, or filter, is employment type. On LinkedIn, they've got to decide who is the top ranked product to serve, right? Most recruiters are looking for full-time, down to seasonal, right? So there's a value that increases with each one of these levels. If you can select full-time, then you're always going to be in kind of the top group that is presented. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Company, believe it or not, this is one of these market value titles. If I don't type in the right company name, I get this little box here. This is what we call the building box. And those are supposed to represent a couple of different little buildings. What it means is that I'm not attached. If I select this one and I hit save, I'm not attached now to a company. That's where you see that, right? So to LinkedIn, that means I may or may not be employed, and they're going to rank me that way. So I want to select the one that has the logo that brings me forward. This is really big if you get into a company that is bought out by another company, right? And that company page no longer exists. Select the new company. And again, in the details, define it as purchased by so-and-so, right? Such and such company purchased by so-and-so, and I made it through the transition. It's a big plus point as well, but use that market value title. Locations are the same way. A year ago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Metroplex, which it is now, used to be Dallas/Fort Worth area. If I had left this alone, somebody looking for me within either Talent Solutions, the recruiter tool, or Sales Navigator, if they were looking for me, they would not find me in the Metroplex, which is the new market value, right? So check your locations and make sure you're using the bigger net. I could select just Dallas, right? But Dallas-Fort Worth brings more opportunity to me. So select that bigger net in these filters. Location type, same thing. Everybody loves to be remote. It's kind of fun, right? But is remote the highest demand product for recruiters? Maybe not, depending on your industry, depending on what you can do. Hybrid might be a good solution. I can do both, right? On-site might be the most high demand. If they're out there searching for someone, I want somebody who can come and work in the office. Even if I'm going to ask them to work remote now, if they tell me they'll work in the office, then I'm ready for transition time, which all these companies think they're doing, right? So this is, again, an incredible market value filter. Industry, and this one was nutty because they just changed this again. They've changed this 3 times in the last probably 3 years. Industry has changed. Last year, I had writing and editing as an industry. It really doesn't fit, but it's the closest fit right now. And then they changed it in April to writing and editing, which is the new NIAC, formula for industry. So they updated, didn't tell anybody. So now I update, and now I can be found within that category. So big, really big to do these things. One of them that's outside of the experience that I see quite often, discard all that, make sure I didn't make a total mess of my profile. I do that sometimes with showing this. This one is a big one, education. So what people normally do is they start typing in something down here, and this could be education. It could be certifications, right? Coursework. If you don't select what's in the drop-down box, that message that sends to LinkedIn is, and this is the one I see a lot, bachelor's, right? Bachelor's didn't come up in the drop-down box. Bachelor does. It has options. When you don't take one from the drop-down box, it looks like you're now claiming a degree that the university does not offer, because this is what the university says it offers. Education is the #1 thing people lie about on LinkedIn and on resumes, right? You always hear it. That, in a way, is telling LinkedIn maybe Kevin was lying about his education because the university says they don't issue that one. So I want to go back and select the one they issue, not type it out, take the one in the drop-down box, right? And here is one other, and this is not a market value filter, but this is kind of a trick that I don't like that LinkedIn does. If you do not have your graduation date, you will not be pulled up in recruiter searches that require higher education. That's because that's what the recruiters demanded. I want to know when they graduated. People will not put this in because they think ageism, right? They'll know I graduated back in 85. That's 100 years ago. But if you want to be in search results to get considered, you have to put this in there. If a company has problems with ageism, you're not going to solve it by tricking them into getting to an interview. And then they go, wow, Kevin, you're old, right? You've just wasted your time, their time. You haven't got anything out of it. Use this, put your graduation date in here, because now you will appear in recruiter searches. So not a market value filter, but important to know in this sense. And go back and check these. I will bet in this group, at least 70% of this group will not be getting credit for their education or their certification because they didn't use these filters, right? And you think about it, anytime you have a database that large with 1 billion people, you've got to start using tools like this to be able to sort it. Otherwise, it's Wild West and nobody would be able to find anything. And then they couldn't sell us to other members and make that 65% of their $17 billion. That make sense? this is one of the biggest cores and one of the biggest mistakes people make on LinkedIn is not using these filters, because LinkedIn makes it easy to make a profile and make it look pretty. And you think I'm done and it's great. And then it doesn't work in the database and you become what I call invisible, right? You don't exist because they can't find you. So if you're not getting the right traffic, the right contact, check these because it's probably the number one reason. From there, I wanted to go into a tool because we were talking about really kind of using words to define us, right? So one of the tools I think has great value is what we call Career Explorer, right? And what Career Explorer is, it's a kind of a skunkwork project that LinkedIn put together. And believe it or not, this is about 4 years old, but most people don't know it exists. Career Explorer said, we've got all this data on all these people with these titles and skills and all this stuff. We can then pull that together and help people understand their position and their ability to pivot into other positions and what skills their competition would have to hold those positions, right? That's all great information. Nobody can get that but LinkedIn. They're the only one with full access. So they started this. Now, the presentation, once you land on this page, and we'll put the link, I guess, in the chat, and we'll put a total list at the end. It's on GitHub, which is where LinkedIn does their experiments. It's terrible. The user interface, you scroll down and it starts flying stuff around. Unless you like to read a lot of stuff, it's confusing. Keep scrolling until you see a location. So right there is a location, right? I'm just going to leave it at default. You can pick whatever location you want. Over here, you want to pick a title. So we want to pick a title, again, out of the drop-down box. These are titles that are in the market value filters. So if you ever want to know what titles are there, this is a quick way to search titles as well. So you go in here and you pick a title. I'm just going to pick anything here. Vice President of Business. And what it's going to do is, it's first of all, it's going to look at my profile. And it's going to look at everybody on LinkedIn in my marketplace, right? You could put United States as your marketplace if you wanted to, or your city. In my marketplace with this title, how do my skill sets compare, right? So what it's telling me here is these are the common skills that somebody who wants to be vice president of business should have, right? And then over here, what it's telling me is if you wanted to transition, right? Here's the skills on this side that we recognize you have as a vice president of business. Here's the skills that you're going to need to transition into market vice president. So it's going to give you that ability, and then it's going to tell you how popular that transition is, which kind of tells you, you know, do a lot of people go after it? Do a lot not? So it's kind of a good guide, but what it's really going to do are these terms right here. It's going to help you establish, am I using these in my skills, right? My skills and endorsements, and am I using these terms in my content of my profile, right? Because LinkedIn is going to pick up skills from both what you list as a skill set and then what's in the content. So this is going to give you the ability to write to where you want to go. That makes sense. So if you are such and such and you wanted to be another position, it will help you identify what's missing or what you haven't thought about writing about, that if you included those in as your skill sets and you have them, then you could make that transition much easier. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna jump on. There's a lot to absorb in there. Go and play with it, because the more you play with it, the more you're going to get an understanding of how this database works on LinkedIn. Now, there is a new feature, and it's slowly rolling out. And we were talking earlier about rollouts. Why does LinkedIn not announce stuff? The reason LinkedIn doesn't announce features, there's a couple of reasons. LinkedIn is not what it was planned to be when it first launched, right? It was just supposed to be a place to post jobs and post resumes. And then they figured out all these other networking things you could do and everything else. And so they've been building code upon code upon code. The site's never been designed to do what it does. So when they add a new feature, LinkedIn never knows if adding this new feature is going to blow up the whole site and take it down. So if they took a feature and they gave it to everybody, right, and the site disappeared for 4 days, who would be upset? Probably all of us, right? We'd be like, I never wanted that feature anyway, and you blew up the site for it. So what they do is they do it in 5 waves. The waves are randomized. You don't ever get picked just because you're you. They don't give it to me all the time, right? You get randomized. There's 5 waves. They increase in size because they're testing, right? And they're timed. They usually take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to roll out if everything is going smooth. Now, if I were to do that, and I'm doing that, and I take this small group, right, and I started out to test it, and hey, everything is going really well. If I told the rest of LinkedIn, hey, we're testing this, and in 90 days, you may get it, how would you feel? Probably not really happy, right? Like, why didn't I get it to begin with? And that's why they don't tell anybody. By the time LinkedIn tells you, that feature's probably been available for 90 days. So when you see the executives and they're like, we've got a brand new feature, it's been out there and people have been using it. So it's really important to stay up with these. You can follow, I've got a newsletter that we're exposing these all the time so that you know when it comes and it happens to arrive on your account, that you can make that your competitive advantage by using it, right? And so that's one of the reasons we do that. So this feature that we're going to talk about is called Enhance. And what is happening at LinkedIn, and I apologize, I'm going to a post because it's the only place I have a demo of this. And what Enhance is it's using AI, because Microsoft, the owner of LinkedIn, also bought 49% of ChatGPT, right? And so now they want to monetize that. So they're rolling more LinkedIn features with AI into the mix. Now, most of them will be premium based, right? But what this will do, this enhanced feature, is if you don't like your headline or you don't like your about section, but you have everything else complete on your profile, this will give you suggestions on what you could write. Now, obviously, it has some insights into what LinkedIn is looking for. So this tool can be really good in the sense of it can produce something that LinkedIn wants to see, but then you've got to make it your own, right? And the same concept goes, you can do this outside of LinkedIn. You could go to a lot of different places, ChatGPT being one of the more popular ones. You can go in there and say, here's my resume. Can you summarize it for me? Can you create a call to action that might make recruiters call me, right? So you can use AI to help you come up with core content, but don't use it on its own because there's a lot of issues with AI, right? It has biases. It sometimes does completely inaccurate stuff. This is your brand, right? And if you accept things that you don't check out, I call that personal blanding, not branding, right? You've basically made yourself look pretty useless. This normally has a tendency to find that medium where everybody else is saying, right? Because that's what AI does, is it copies content and uses it at its own. So be really aware of any of these new features coming out, that you really do have to become the editor of them. They can be a muse, but they can't be a total solution. And LinkedIn even admits that, because it won't let you just accept it. You have to review it and edit it before you can accept it, right? So I like the fact that LinkedIn understands this too, as well as Microsoft. So, but you'll see a lot more AI coming in. And now AI, and that's part of this article, is actually also, it's creating job posts now for recruiters. So AI is going to go in there and write job posts for recruiters, which actually are better than what most recruiters have been writing from what I've seen. So, you know, maybe that's an improvement. Who knows? Let me get back to this list here. So next opportunity that's really coming in here is we have now gotten top skills, right, are now assignable to our LinkedIn profile. So if I go back to my profile and I scroll down to this area, you see top skills now, right? So you can assign 5 skills to your about section, and you hopefully all know that you can assign more than 5 skills. Technically, you could assign up to 50 skills per job experience. Now, LinkedIn originally wanted us only to pick 5 per experience, but everybody found out you could do more, so they did more, right? More's better. What LinkedIn now is using these skills for, so if I say I've got strategic partnerships, and I say that on 5 different jobs, you can add up the years of the jobs and you can get how many years I've had strategic partnership. That makes sense? That's how LinkedIn is using these skills added to positions. What LinkedIn wants to know up here is what are your current overall top skills. And so they're very different. Does that make sense? Okay. So make sure you're doing this, make sure you're adding this in because this is huge with recruiters looking for people. They're going to look for that top skill set. And that's what you want to bring in here. Now, 5 is hard. So you're going to have to really study them and pick your best. And when you're doing that, if you're targeting certain positions and there's always 5 that come up, right? Those are the 5 you want to be bringing in here. And you want to make sure you've added them to your skills. All right. So this is something, actually, I'm going to just take you back here. One of the things that is a huge advantage of LinkedIn is content, right? And creating content, commenting on content if you're not ready to create, because one of the things that LinkedIn does as a database is the more activity that you have on LinkedIn, the more value they think your profile content is. Because if your profile was out of date, you wouldn't be active posting and commenting, right? So LinkedIn uses it as a judgment value of activity. So you want to participate in what's going on out there. If you go to your feed right now, the feed can be full of junk. You do have the option of, recent or top, and you can set in your settings to go recent only. I like that better. But what I will do is I will use a filter set that's really easy to create. So if I go into the search box, right, and I'm going to do a search, I'm just going to hit search. I'm going to hit post, not people, because if you build a filter around people, you can set off LinkedIn's automation process because it looks like you're scraping profiles, right? But if you do it by post, and let's say I'm going to put Mindy in there. Oh, pardon me. I did that wrong. Let me go back there. Post. I'm going to put Mindy down. Wait, I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to go over here to sort by. I'm going to go latest because I always want the latest. I'm going to pick. Sorry, my computer's running a little slow. I'm going to pick the past 24 hours because I want to know what just happened. Right? And then I want to pick members that I'm interested in. So I could put in here Mindy, right? I could even add myself, right? Now, if I hit show results, it looks like neither Mindy or I have posted in the last 24 hours. So that's probably a bad example, but let's just say the past week.
We're still unpacking, Kevin, so it's okay.
I know. So this would be past week, right? So there's a post from Mindy. There's a post from me, right? I can then go in. I don't have to go into the feed and look at the junk that LinkedIn wants me to look at and read all the ads. I can go directly. I can make a list of who I want to see. Right? Well, you can do this every day, but that's a lot of work. The easiest thing to do at this point is you would go to wherever on your filter that you can do bookmarks, right? So you click bookmark, You create, bookmark this page. I can't see it, it's up top. I'm going to go back. That's just too confusing. But you set that bookmark in place, right? And then, and I've got some in here already. Let's just see. So here's top LinkedIn creators that I set. And believe it or not, there's 64 of them in this filter. Every time I open this, I will see all their current content in the last 24 hours. And I can go in and comment, right? That keeps me very structured. I don't waste any time on my feed. I get exactly what I want. And because I'm looking at their post, it doesn't upset LinkedIn because I'm not looking at their profile, which looks like automation scraping. This is a great way to control your feed and get active, because one of the things you'll find is if you comment on somebody else's post, they will normally comment on yours. So it's a reciprocity game. It builds momentum. But who else could you use besides creators that you like? I also have a list where I follow people inside LinkedIn. Sometimes they're the ones who give me my tips, right? I have a list of companies I want to follow. I have a list of CEOs I want to follow. And I bookmark all of these so I can click on them and see exactly what they're sharing. So then I can go in and add value. This is an incredible tool. The other beauty of this is there is no advertising in it. So you skip LinkedIn's advertising model, which I don't think they like. I do have a YouTube video on how to build those. They're really much easier than I made that look, but definitely a tool to use. Another feature that just recently came out, and we wrote a little bit on that, is basically called I'm Interested. So if you've got a target list of companies, which you should have, right? If you've got that target list of companies, I'm just going to say, I'm going to look up LinkedIn here as a company, right? I'll go to their company page. I'm going to click on the About section, right? And I'm going to scroll down, and there's this new little section here, I'm Interested. If I click on this, it now has shared my interest with all the recruiters at LinkedIn. There wasn't a job posted that I could do at LinkedIn, but now they all know I'm interested in LinkedIn, right? So this is a great tool. It's only going to be on larger companies that use Recruiter, LinkedIn Recruiter. So you won't find it on every one of them, but the ones you find it on, this is a great tool to do because it's only going to send your interest in the company to the company recruiters, nobody else. So it's a nice controlled factor, but it really helps those companies when they're looking, going, okay, we're now going to search for somebody who does X, Y, and Z, and that's what you do. Guess who is going to be at the top of their list in their recruiter tool? The people that already told them they were interested. Right?
Does everyone have this, or is it so new it's still being rolled?
This one, probably everybody has by now because it's been out about 3 months.
Okay.
If you don't, it's coming very quickly. And if you don't see it, it might be that it's not available on that particular company. So best places to check are LinkedIn, because we know LinkedIn has it. Microsoft is another place you can check. You go to that About section, you scroll down, right? And then if you're not interested anymore, you can undo the I'm no longer interested. You guys did something I don't like, right? You can get out of it. You can pull it back, but it's there. And then you can go back and click it. Okay. That I think is a really cool tool because it's pushing you forward. Now, as we're here, anytime you go into a company page, if you follow that company page, it's going to give you the option, right, to get notification when they post. It's a smart thing to do. And this also increases your presence within Recruiter because they will tell that company recruiter that you are actually following the company page. They always want people who are interested in them as opposed to people who don't follow them at all. Why would I then be reaching out to you? If you're applying and you're not following the company, that's a signal you're sending the company that I just applied. I really don't care about the company, right? So always follow the company, always ring their bell, and then go down there and find out if they've got I'm interested. And if they do, click on it, right? That really puts you at the top of their results when they're looking for somebody who does what you do when that opportunity comes up. And this taps into that hidden market, right? We're not going to post this position because we don't want the competition to know we're going after, or whatever reason, or we haven't told the person who's currently sitting in the position, but we're now looking for that. This is kind of a hidden opportunity way to signal to that company that you are interested. So I think that's really a good thing to be doing. Another one I can't, well, I guess I could. If I go to my activity, I go into events. So any event that you've been into, whether it is, pardon me, whether it is a live event, or if it is it's not showing me here, I'm sorry, whether it's a live event or if it's an audio event, right? What ends up happening is there's going to be what's called a networking tab. If you click on the networking tab, it's going to show you everybody who signed up to be at the event, whether they showed up or not, right? And because you said you were going to show up, you clicked I'm attending, you can then now send a direct message to any one of those individuals without having in-mail, without, they could be outside of your third degree, but it gives you that ability then to communicate with them. So let's say, Branson did a event on LinkedIn, and he's done that before. If you attended that event, you could actually send Richard Branson a message on LinkedIn. It circumvents all that, process of keeping you from doing that. Now, that better be a really good message, right? Or it's going to get rejected or ignored.
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen, but use that networking tab, because that's kind of an instant access into those people that attended. Now, use it in the right way. Don't use it to try to sell them stuff, but definitely make contact, especially if you were in that event, they said something intelligent and you want to thank them, right? That's a great thing. One of the things I do in audio events is I'll often take a picture of the person speaking, right? Because they forget to, and it's got the little green ring around them, they're speaking, and I will send that to them just saying, hey, saw you on stage, loved what you said, thought you might want a picture, and you send it to them. What's interesting is they usually create a post out of that the next day, and they thank you in the post, right? So you start a relationship with a gift. It's a smart way to go, right? So think about LinkedIn in different ways and clever ways that might not be what they would normally, want you to think. Oh, and I have to point this out. I've taken a month off and impressions went down terribly. And then I did one post and they went up again, but those are terrible numbers. But I like some of the tools that they're providing in that sense. Let's see here. The next one that I'd like to show, and most people are maybe not seeing this, if you go into any of the jobs that are posted, right? So if I just click on one, you've got this skills. That's not. Don't you love it? Don't you love when they don't do what they're supposed to do? Okay, I'm going to show you in a different way. Okay, so normally when you're looking at a job, it will give you skills detail, right? And in that skills detail, it will tell you what skills it saw in your profile, and then what skills it saw in the job. The one in the profile were also in the job. Those are going to be highlighted in green. The ones that you didn't have are going to be highlighted in gray, right? You have some options. If you wanted to apply to that, you could then either adjust resume to include these keywords, or you can adjust your profile to include those keywords and skills. But it's a nice kind of point of reference that says, if I'm going to apply, this is how I'm going to be looked at. Now, these can range anywhere from 3 or 4 to 15, right? So you never know exactly how many they're going to put out, but they're going to be the top ones. What LinkedIn does when somebody puts a job post together is LinkedIn will scan it and say, here's your top skill sets from the job. Do you agree? And if you're the poster and say yes, then they'll show all of those. If you're the poster and say, no, just these 5 are my top, that gives you more guidance, because the poster said, these are my most important out of the 15. Here's the ones I really want to see. And that poster can even add skills that might not have been in the job write-up that they have that are important. Maybe they're thinking, between the lines, they can add them in there. And that might have been where these 2 came in. They could add them in, and then you can rewrite to apply and do better in the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wish I
Can
could
you go
have
back to
shown
that-
that directly on a job itself.
Can you go back to that 1 second? I just want to show them. They can add directly from here. Can you show them, see right here where it says plus? You can add those skills directly to your profile.
Yeah,
If you-
and it's not active here, but if I were to click that, what it would tell me right now is I've already reached 50 skills. So you can't add anymore. If I was at 49, I could add 1
Yeah.
to my skills, right? So it does give you that ability to do it immediately if you haven't already maxed out your 50. I think most people have maxed out, just trying to get as much in there as they can. I do it because I'm always adding stuff I shouldn't even add in there, but that's just part of me testing everything all the time. So Mindy and I were talking the other day, and this was about a feature that's based in our profile, and that's open to work, right? So there's a couple of ways of looking at open to work. Whenever we use open to work, and that's that little green banner sometimes you'll see, right? If it's open publicly, or it is the reference to recruiters that we don't really see, but we can turn it on. Open to work is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It works really well at first and low-level positions. Coming out of college, open to work is perfect, right? I'm about to graduate, I'm open to work. That makes absolute sense. Lower level positions, it may make sense. Currently employed, you never want to put open to work publicly, because if you're currently employed, everybody at work knows as well that you're now looking for something else. So that's the time you don't want to do it, right? If you select recruiter only, then LinkedIn, and you can look at the wording on this, LinkedIn protects you from your company recruiters, the ones that work directly for the company. Now, if a recruiter was a contract recruiter that worked for your company, which a lot of them do, right? Then they might actually see the open to work banner. But I guess the protection there is because they are kind of freelance contract recruiters. They know their reputation is everything. They don't want to tell on anybody, because that doesn't help them with the company they're trying to contract with, because it becomes really ugly. So they know that. And so they usually won't say anything, but it is fairly safe to use the recruiter option while you're employed. And especially when you're not employed, you can definitely use that, right? Now, 2 things that I find fascinating, as you go into this, you can see, you pick the job titles, right? You want to pick the ones they offer, location types, market, pick the market you're in that you want to be in. When it gets down to remote, it's actually better to say United States, right? Because remote is remote. Doesn't matter where it is or where you are. So, leave that a little farther open. These actually have an impact on how high on the list do you become. If you say immediate, there are recruiters who are looking for people who are immediately available. There are also recruiters who go, I don't want anybody who's immediately available, because maybe that's a flag, right? So you got to kind of decide which one's going to be your best option. Flexible, I kind of like flexible, because it's kind of like, if you came up with something really good, I might listen to you. It kind of puts you in the deal-making seat, as opposed to the other one is like, tell me anything, I'll take it, right? So I always think the best positioning is this flexible approach. Your work types, again, if you're out of work, contract is not a bad option. And sometimes contracts are for years, right? So if I'm out of work and I've got to find employment, contract's a good option because they may bring me in. The other thing that most companies are doing with contract employees is they're kind of trying before they buy, right? If they really like you, then you can get on full time. So always, kind of think about that. I don't know if I would do part-time, but again, I just play with this stuff. So here's your options of recruiter and then all members. If you do all members, you get that green banner. That becomes your brand statement. I'm open to work, right? I would suggest if it were me and I'm at a mid and upper level, I would go recruiter only. But here's the one caveat. If I use all LinkedIn members, right, it's going to throw that banner on there, but it's going to give me the option to post. And this is one of the only times on LinkedIn where your post will be either put in the feed of or notified to every single member of your network. They will get that post. You want to customize that post, not I'm open to work, but you want to customize it. Hey, I'm doing this, that, and the other. If you know anybody who needs this, or, make it customized, click it, establish the post, and then maybe come back here and put it back onto recruiter only, right? Think of it like a PR blast. Timing is important. If you want nobody to see it, do it Friday night, right? If you want somebody to see it, do it maybe Tuesday at 8 a.m. But again, you want to turn it off if you don't want to have this banner on. But once you turn that on and you complete it, it will give you that ability to post as your last option. And that's a good exposure tool. So I wanted you to know that's there. But my preference is stick to recruiter only. The other piece of this is LinkedIn is always looking at the timing of our data, right? How accurate is our data? They do a lot with activity. They do a lot with timing, right? So if I turn on this tool and I turned it on yesterday, I'm going to be popping up in every recruiter who's looking for skills that I have that day, right? 60 days later, guess where I am on the list? I'm decreasing, right? Because the way LinkedIn looks at it, I want to give the best product to that recruiter. And I know if you've been looking for 60 days, maybe you're not interested anymore. Maybe you forgot you had it on. Maybe you already got a job, right? Or maybe there's a problem, right? Whatever it is, the farther out the timing on this gets, the lower you become on that ranking scale when they offer you as a product. So if you're active in a pursuit for employment, you want to be refreshing this, going down here, delete from profile, going back in, adding it in brand new. Yeah, you got to click a few boxes, but it's not a lot. Do it so that you are always the most active data. And I've tested this with a couple of recruiters, and actually I tested with one recruiter who didn't know I was doing it. And she finally said, you must be talking to Kevin, because every single time they did it, they were top of the list with her, and she was trying to figure this out. So she sat in on one of my meetings, like, you're telling people to do this, because she was trying to figure out the phenomena, why these certain people were always coming up at the top of her list. And it was as they were turning this back on. So this is, again, LinkedIn's way of saying, because you just said it, it must be the most accurate. So I'm going to make you the best product. Does that make sense?
This is amazing, Kevin. I just want to mention that we are approaching the top of the hour. I don't know if you have time to do the last one that you have. And if everyone wants to stay on, that's completely up to you. You let me know. It's your time. I know it's valuable. The things that you're telling us are so incredible. This hack that I learned from you a couple of months ago, I never heard anyone else tell me that, but to refresh open to work consistently makes sense. You want to be top of the list, right? You don't want to be at the bottom.
Absolutely.
So you tell me, Kevin, do you have time to do one more? Or
Oh, absolutely. And I will stay longer than that. If there's questions, I'll do that as long as you all want to do that. I'm okay. My day is set, so I don't have anything till the afternoon.
Okay. Beautiful. So let's do the last one. That would be amazing. Then we'll see what questions, if any, who is left, and if there are any questions. Okay.
Great, great. So I'm going to go back to my jobs tab here, and I'm going to go to a section called interview prep, right? So you've got to the point, you've got the first interview, you want to get prepared, right? So LinkedIn actually provides an interview prep. What they do is they have, top categories, and they have a number of questions in those categories, and they refresh them constantly. If you are a basic profile, not a premium, right? You can get the questions, you can get some basic answers. If you are premium, you will get a more in-depth answers, right? Always make them yours. That's one of the biggest problems I see with this tool is people will start copying what they see. And that means the recruiter probably already heard it before, right? Just like if you Google the answers, make it yours. But these are great questions. And what I like about it is it kind of gives you an insight of why are they asking this? So if you ever wondered why they ask certain questions, this is going to tell you that. But what I really like about this tool is you can actually practice your feedback. Now, you can do it as a writing response, and that's kind of cool. And believe it or not, they're going to examine the writing response using AI, and they're going to give you suggestions on how to make it stronger, right? That's kind of cool. You can also record a video. I'm going to allow that. So you can record a video, right, and play it through. And obviously, I'm trying to answer this question, but I'm really not. Oh, there we go. Now we're recording it. So the cool thing is you can actually record that. You can share this with people, right? You can send it forward and say, hey, can you comment on this? Can you tell me what's going on? But what's really cool is once you've recorded this, what it will do is it will actually analyze this through AI and tell you about your answer. Was it on mark to the question? Did it hit the high points? Did you have filler words like right? It'll count them. It'll tell you what they are. It'll tell you about your pitch. Really kind of cool information, because now when you do interviews that are video interviews, often they're using AI behind the scenes to give them insights. So by using this tool, you can practice it and see what they see. So as soon as I got that done, it's not letting me scroll all the way up there. So it'll actually complete these. It usually takes a little bit of time, but it will tell you things about it. And then it'll actually show you graphs. It gets a little more, in the example area. I think I've got no, that's a video. Don't want to go in there, but really kind of a cool tool to kind of figure out what they're seeing on the other side, how they're making some of their judgment calls based on AI and its contribution. So I like this. If you save that video, it should do the rest of the analysis. Of course, that's just going to be junk because it doesn't really respond to the question, but neat tool to use. And LinkedIn's had this out for a couple of years. Before you pay a coach, right, to do some of these things, to go over some of these things, practice here. Because if you go in and you're a little better, right, then what you're doing is you're refining that so that you're a lot better when you get there. So it's a great tool. It's a good kind of way to begin processing some of this stuff and thinking about why are they asking, how to answer, how to present. I love this little tool, and I think it's just kind of forgotten. That's my top 10. Oh, there's my charts off that last one.
Oh, yeah.
You can see my pitch and my ums. There's my 2 ums, and it actually told me when they were recorded at what times. So you could go back and watch it. So neat little process.
I love this, Kevin. It's such a great tool, especially for people who are maybe a little more introverted or shy and don't want to practice with anyone else. You can just practice with yourself, and you can it's videoed, and right away you get some feedback. And then as
you can't really get mad at the robots, right? When they tell you used 2 times. When I threw those in there to get them in, it's kind of cool because then you take no offense. It's nobody else criticizing you, but you really can practice and get better. And then I could go back and I could resubmit this video and get it rescored. And so I think that's kind of neat, but lots of tools in there.
Yeah. And then after they practice a little bit, they can come to any coach who's going to help them with their interview prep. And I'm happy to help out to get you to the next level. Absolutely.
And you'd rather have them a little sharper, right, than begin at the very basics. Like you say all the time, right? You want to get into the core of this stuff to really give them all the power they need. And that's where this comes in as a great tool.
I love this. Oh, Kevin, this has been just phenomenal. So many great pieces of information, so many great nuggets. Let's pull down your screen if you don't mind. And I'm going to open up for everyone to see gallery view. So if anyone has any questions, and we're so appreciative of your time, Kevin. And if you have time for a couple of questions.
Absolutely, I'm open.
Let's just see. If you have a question, why don't you just raise your hand so we can see you come up to the top. I see Steve has a question. We didn't want to interrupt you while you were on a roll, Kevin, because there's so much great information. But perhaps now that we have a little bit of a smaller group and people feel more comfortable, let's see how we go. Steve?
Kevin, incredibly helpful. Really loved the way you presented this, and
Thank you.
Just very insightful. A question on the AI piece. Is that a feature that's been rolled out to everybody at this point, or is that a feature that is not available to all of us who have premium?
Believe it or not, it's been rolled out for over 3 years.
I missed how to access it. And so
if you go to the jobs tab, right? And then on that side navigation, you'll see interview prep. Click on interview prep. That's where you're going to see all the different questions. And then in the middle of the page at the top, you'll see practice answers.
Let me clarify the AI I was talking about. It was the AI that you were showing for headlines and for your about description.
That one, you have to have a premium account.
Yep.
So if you have premium, it will show up when it's ready. So if you don't have it yet, it's in the rollout phase.
Okay. Haven't got it yet. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Esmeralda, would you like to be on screen, on camera, so you can ask Kevin a question? Esmeralda, you're up. If you'd like to unmute yourself, we can't hear you right now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine now. Perfect.
Hi. My apologies. I arrived late. The traffic was really bad outside today. I was trying to find out, when you have your 50 your 50 skills listed, can you change that list, take certain ones off and add different ones?
You can delete any skill.
Okay.
But when you delete a skill, you will lose any endorsements.
Ooh.
But
okay.
Sometimes it's the right thing to do, right? If you use a term that's no longer used, that kind of brands you as old, right? So if that's the term, get rid of it, start new, and just start building new endorsements. I always tell anybody who is doing skills, your endorsements are important, because when you say, I've got this skill, that's you saying it. I could say anything I want, right? When other people say it, that I have it, they give me the endorsement, that's social credit, right? That says so-and-so says you have it as well. When people who are highly ranked at a skill say you have it, that's like a multiplier. When a recruiter is looking for a skill, and if I've got 50 of them and you've got 120 endorsements, you're going to be above me on that list when they're looking for that skill, right?
I get it.
Real important. And I usually tell people, if you don't have a lot of endorsements, create what I call a skill party, right? Get 100 of your biggest friends on LinkedIn and say, hey, look, come to my profile, give me as many skills as you know I have, no more than you don't know, and I will do the same for you. If I go to somebody's profile and it says they can do COBOL, and I've never seen them do COBOL coding, I know enough about it, but I'm not going to give it to them because I don't know they have it. So you want this group of 100 to be people you trust, right? And you give them everything you can because you trust them. They're your friends. Start that skill party up and get those skills up so that when recruiters are looking at you, you're top of the list. And there's no such thing as too many endorsements.
I like that skills
Yeah.
party. I'm going to remember that. So if you take certain things off, you have a skill party and you say, hey, if you could endorse me for these.
Well, and the other thing is you can order your skills, right? You can set the
Oh.
top 3.
Oh,
Because what happens is when somebody goes down to
Mhm.
your skill section, they see the top 3.
mhm.
If you add new ones, move them to the top, because that's what everybody wants to give you is those top 3. They never dig down and go down the list, right? Majority of the people give you your top 3 and then it'll be gone.
And
That's
how
a
would
good way
you
to make sure new stuff gets endorsements.
how would you move those so that you could? I didn't even know you could do that.
If you go into that skills section, right, you go into the
Mhm.
edit point. On
Mhm.
the second page of the edit point, they're going to have a arrow that goes up and an arrow that goes down, right? You click that.
Oh,
That's going to give you that option. And then you've got little sandwich icons. They look like 3 or 4
Mhm.
lines. You click on
Mhm.
that, pull it up, pull it down, let it go. And that's how you're going to
oh,
reorganize
that's
it.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. And Kevin, I hope you do this. I'm so sorry. I would have been here from the very beginning, but the traffic
Mindy
was hideous
recorded
out
it.
there.
It's all
Oh,
recorded.
really?
It's all
Yeah.
recorded, Esmeralda. Yeah. We'll put the recording up on YouTube probably later today or tomorrow, depending on when it shows up.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, our pleasure.
Absolutely.
This has been a fabulous, fabulous event with you, Kevin. Just so great. Love to have you back whenever you are available. I think everyone would agree that so much learning happened today. Now it's a matter of, can everyone put it into practice? How many will they? Okay.
Well,
So
we only picked 10, right?
everyone who's on the call, just put into the chat, how many of these 10, Kevin gave you 10 amazing, amazing features that you should be using. How many of these features do you think you'll be using? Thank you, Simeon. Within the next 2 weeks. How many of these 10? 11. Steve is going into 11. I love it.
Good.
Bunny only doing 1. Oh, come on, Bunny. You can do more. Ah, she meant 10. Okay, good. Almost all. 9.
Very
All
cool.
of them. I love it.
It's
Okay.
going to make a big difference.
It will make a huge difference.
Mhm.
Huge, huge difference. And I do this every day, Kevin, but I will admit, I am definitely not on LinkedIn 13 hours a day. So kudos to you. I think
I
Cyril,
don't suggest it for most.
Cyril said, how does Kevin know so much? So he has a huge network of people who share information with him for sure. But he is dedicated to it and he has that amazing curiosity. He likes to know where the data comes from and how it's dispersed. So all the work that you do, Kevin, we appreciate it and we learn from you all the time. So I am hoping that everyone here just moves their game up a little bit today and has gotten enough tools to do that. We thank you so much, Kevin, from the bottom of my heart. I thank you so much for your time and for your expertise and always being so generous. I know that when I post something, as soon as I tag Kevin, I know he's one of the first people to respond. So it's amazing and helpful to all of us to be better than we ever thought we could be. Thank you so much. And we wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead.
Well, take care. Thank you for having me.
Remember to save the chat, guys, before I turn this off. I'm giving you 1 second to try to save your chat. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye-bye.